Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. Today we're bringing out another GoBot review. We're going to take a look at the Renegade character, Geeper Creeper. Now, Geeper Creeper would have been released in either 1984 or 1985, and he'd be discontinued in 1986 when the toy line ended by Tonka. As you can obviously tell, he's obviously a military sort of character, judging by the olive drab green that he is all over. That just means some of you are ahead of me on this. Just hold up and wait it out. And as you can see, he's also one of the few figures to come with a gun. The gun obviously would have been omitted from the cartoon series due to the fact that Hanna-Barbera did not promote guns on their show, which is understandable. And Geeper Creeper did appear in the cartoon series. He doesn't hold his gun very well here, but he did make an appearance in the early miniseries, as famously allowing Professor Braxis access into a military base due to the fact that he is a military Jeep. Now, there's a little bit of contradiction on that, and I'll explain that a little later on. But it's also famous due to the fact Geeper Creeper did make it known in no uncertain terms that GoBots do not like to be bounced in. Now, to convert Geeper Creeper into his alternate mode, the first thing we'd do is remove his gun, which he casually threw away here just a moment ago. First thing we'll do is we push his head down into the body. Next, we'll fold his arms back behind him. For his legs, we need to fold the front bumpers out. Have him do something of a splits to bend at the knee. Should have done his articulation, but we'll catch that in a little bit. Then we rotate the legs around. After getting him to do a full splits to the front, and then fold the front ends in like so. We'll fold the bumper in there, fold the windshield back up, then rotate his arms so the wheels are topside, and fold them inward. Then, of course, we can attach the gun on one of the two holes in the back. And he's an Army Jeep. But the thing is that he is actually not a Jeep brand Jeep, but actually a Mitsubishi Jeep. More specifically, the CJ3B model. So basically, he's a Jeep knockoff. And I don't expect that the American Army would have bought a Japanese-made Jeep back in the 1980s. They mostly use the ones made by Fiat Chrysler in their Jeep brand. So that's just a slight oversight by the developers of the cartoon that he's a Japanese Jeep, not an American Jeep. But I guess it really doesn't matter. The gun kind of stands out a little bit here on the back. I mean, looks more like it's a mobile gun platform, and it does rotate to some degree. But in reality, the way the gun is set up back here and how high it stands, it almost reminds me of that little gun platform that was seen at the Dixie Boy in the movie Maximum Overdrive. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know if it's trying to, I doubt it's trying to reference that movie, but in any way, it does make for something interesting at least. There's also one other bit of interesting trivia to point out. Geeper Creeper here, in his original Japanese toy, apparently had rubber tires, whereas the Tonka version has plastic wheels. Unfortunately, I don't have the original Japanese toy, but let's see, how do the plastic wheels roll? I'd say they roll pretty darn good here, folks. Okay, getting back to the thing that I forgot about, folks. I forgot to do his articulation, so we'd better show that now. He has a joint at the shoulder, so it does allow his arms to rotate all the way. In fact, they can fold back just a shade bit further instead of standing completely at the sides. He has a joint at the hips, so it does allow his legs to do a full splits. And of course, there is a joint at the knees, but it bends in the opposite way and is meant more for converting him into his alternate mode than it is for any real posability. But he does have some degree of movement in the hips as he stands. Of course, a lot of this comes from wear and tear from multiple conversions. Mail's here. Be right back. Now we'll take a brief look at Geeper Creeper's loose parts, starting with his machine gun. Obviously, it's intended more for a human to use, but it's built scaled for him. There's the little tab down at the bottom. You'll want to make sure that it's there. If it gets forced into the toy and then something happens to the toy, it can snap off. It is very thin plastic. And of course, you got this little grip back here at the back. That's how he holds it in his hands. All in all, this one's in very good condition. It's hollow on the opposite side. That's definitely a piece you want to keep an eye out for. And then right here we have two of these that are possibly some of the hardest pieces to find for loose GoBots, and that is his windscreen. Geeper Creeper has two of these, one for each leg. And as you can see, you can probably barely make it out. Try to see if I can get it to show on the camera. But you can see the faint detail at the top of a windshield wiper. But as you can mostly tell, this is a very thin, hold it to the sides here. This is a very thin piece of plastic. So as you can imagine, you don't want to take these out very often. This is very thin plastic. It will break very easily. So I would recommend if you do get a loose Geeper Creeper and he does have these intact, you will definitely want him in the GoBot's carrying case or some other place that will protect him and keep him separate so that nothing stress wears or breaks these, because they are a pain to replace. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Geeper Creeper? Aside from the very stupid name that Tonka gave him, an obvious play on the phrase Jeepers Creepers, I like Geeper Creeper. I like the way the toy is done up. I would like to fancy him as being some sort of a military role in with the Renegades, especially after the cartoon did try to emulate the Transformers. So Geeper Creeper does fit in pretty well with the Renegades. I could easily see him being an effective soldier, or maybe even go so far as to be even a high-ranking official, as indicated by the star on the center of his forehead. And even, as you can faintly see, the one-star design that was on the hood of the Jeep. So I could see him as being a military leader for the Renegades. The cartoon also depicted him as he was able to project capture shields from his eyes so that he could imprison at least humans within them. So that's another interesting little bonus that was added for him. The Jeep mode is very nicely detailed, and I do like it a lot. And when you compare the fact that the other Jeeps that we were given in the Transformer line don't really measure up to him very well. Hound is okay, he's not bad, but the lack of robot articulation and the fact that he's probably just as fragile as Geeper Creeper here is with the side mirrors. Then the only other Jeep-like thing that we really get is Swindle, and the robot mode on him looks too much like a cardboard box. So Geeper Creeper definitely wins out against Swindle in that respects. But yeah, as a toy, I think Geeper Creeper had a lot of potential and a lot of imagination that could easily go into his character and the adventures one could take him on. So I would put Geeper Creeper in the top tier for the GoBots. It also helps with him that he has a little bit more of a complicated conversion method than what most GoBots did have at that time. So definitely top tier toy. And that concludes my review of the Renegade GoBot Geeper Creeper. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Please also consider leaving a like and share your thoughts for Geeper Creeper in the comments section down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.